We have all seen those mouth-gaping moments where referees seem to have traded their whistles for magic flutes, making calls that left us questioning reality and scratching our heads in utter disbelief. Sure, referees are human and everyone makes mistakes, but some of these blunders can be super costly and hard to forgive. Here's a look at 10 times referees ruined football. Starting with Paul Tierney's shocking decision not to give Everton a penalty. You know, Paul Tierney doesn't quite fit the image of a typical Premier League referee. Maybe he'd be better off in the lower divisions, but this time he really should have stepped up his game. Remember the 2021-22 season? Liverpool and Manchester City were neck and neck for the Premier League title. There was this clear handball by Rodri in the penalty area, and somehow Tierney and the VAR team decided it wasn't worth a penalty. Can you believe it? Even a kid would call that. And what's more shocking, Manchester City won the league that season by just a single point over Liverpool. Talk about a controversial decision. That's Tierney for you. Liverpool versus Tottenham. Luis Diaz's goal is wrongly ruled out for offside. You have got to feel for Jurgen Klopp because the Reds were once again on the receiving end of another very bad call. This time, it was against Spurs. Both sides had come into the game in strong form and were even unbeaten. Luis Diaz found some space and finished neatly, only for him to realize that his goal had been ruled offside. The intervention of the video assistant referees was needed, and shockingly nothing was done. Usually, the VAR in this situation would draw horizontal and vertical lines to confirm or revert the original call, but the guys at the VAR eerily fell asleep. Subsequent replays showed that Luis Diaz was clearly onside, and his goal should have stood. Borderline ridiculous, just like the next officiating madness. Frank Lampard's goal is ruled out in the 2010 World Cup. England knew they had to be at their absolute best to overcome a strong German side at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, and they could have. Lampard hit an outrageous strike that hit the crossbar and went into the net. In the 36th minute, that would have brought his team back into the tie. But somehow the assistant referees failed to see that the ball had crossed the line, even when the whole stadium saw it. The bizarre call was condemned all across the world, but it did little to soothe the sore three Lions, as they crashed out in a rather embarrassing fashion, 4-1. But what is the point of having assistant referees that need to be assisted themselves? This unfortunate incident prompted FIFA to introduce goal line technology, to eradicate doubts on whether balls cross goal lines or not. The goal line technology goes to sleep. Remember that wild moment in the 2019-20th Premier League season after the COVID break, when Sheffield United faced Aston Villa? There was this free kick that somehow ended up in Aston Villa's net, but the referee didn't call it a goal. Crazy, right? We all thought VAR and goal line technology would stop these kinds of errors and make sure goals like this counted. But in this case, they just didn't use it. When asked, the referee said his goal line tech watch didn't beep to signal a goal. Talk about a big oops! Sheffield United ended up being relegated, just 1 point behind Villa. Even 1,000 apologies from the PGMOL couldn't calm the angry Sheffield fans. Sometimes it feels like referees are embarrassing, almost as if they have a favorite team in the game. Argentina qualify controversially ahead of Nigeria. Oh, the drama in that final Group C match between Argentina and Nigeria at the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Argentina was teetering on the edge of elimination and needed to beat the Nigerian team to advance. Messi worked his magic with a stunning goal from his legendary left foot. Nigeria managed to equalize with a penalty, but they should have had another shot. Marcos Rojo clearly handled the ball in the penalty area, altering its direction. What's really shocking? The referee didn't even check the VAR. And then, adding insult to injury, Rojo, the same guy responsible for the handball, scored the winning goal for Argentina just minutes later. Talk about a stroke of luck for the Argentines. They seem to have a knack for swaying referees in their favor, as we'll see again in our next clip. Late Diego volleys ball with his hand. Diego Maradona is arguably one of the most controversial figures in World Cup football history. The skilled football wizard was known for his dribbles, free kicks, and solo runs, but he was also the master of the dark arts. In the 1986 World Cup, in a knockout tie against England, a through ball was put into the English box 18, and the miniature Argentine magician sprang up and clearly used his hand to volley the ball into the net. Incredible! The shock on Peter Shilton's face said it all. To this day, it's one of the wildest referee calls in World Cup history. Let's just say the ref isn't exactly a hero in England, kind of like Andre Marriner in North London. Andre Marriner sends the wrong player off. In the 2013-14 season, Arsenal was up against Chelsea, their London rivals, and the atmosphere was electric. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain went full-on goalkeeper and stopped a goal-bound ball. But then came the twist. Marriner, in a total mix-up, sent off Kieran Gibbs instead. Can you imagine? Arsenal ended up losing big time, but Marriner was the one who really embarrassed himself. Just like the next ref we'll talk about, who ended up giving Chelsea a tough break. Tomo Vrebo turns to Barcelona's 12th man on the pitch. Tomo Vrebo was handed the opportunity to officiate what was to be a huge clash between Chelsea and Barcelona in the UEFA Champions League semi-finals. And oh boy, did he stir up some controversy. He denied Chelsea not one, not two, but 4 clear penalties in that game. The match was just a mess of errors, with Chelsea bearing the brunt of it. Chelsea fans still get worked up talking about Ovrebo's blunders, much like how the Irish probably feel about Martin Hansen. That game was one for the books, and not in a good way. Thierry Henry handles the ball to break Irish hearts. The Swede referee failed to spot that France's Thierry Henry had handled and controlled the ball to set William Gallas to win the game with the score tied at 1-1 during France's playoff tie against Ireland. It was a very tight game, and the French side needed some sort of inspiration to advance from the playoffs. They got one though, albeit illegally. Hansen might argue he wasn't entirely to blame, but the Irish fans definitely wouldn't listen to that. The Irish Football Association pleaded to replace France at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, but all to no avail. Come on, these referees really need to wake up literally. Just like the next referee who apparently had something more urgent to do other than refereeing. Ha ha ha. Gianni Zikazwe ends the game too early. Zambian referee Gianni Zikazwe lost track of time and decided to shorten the AFCON fixture between Tunisia and Mali. He blew the whistle not once, but twice, before it even hit the 90-minute mark. With Mali in the lead, the Tunisian team felt cheated and refused to leave their dressing room to finish the game. Later, the head of the referees said Zikazwe's meltdown was because of heat stroke, but every time you watch that game, it just gets more bizarre. Totally bonkers, right? Alright everyone, that's our roundup of 10 times referees turned football into a complete mess. If you got a kick out of these crazy moments, don't forget to smash that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments, we'd love to hear from you. And hey, hit subscribe for more wild football moments. Catch you next time, and until then, keep the sports spirit alive. Here's hoping your matches are free of ref blunders and your goals are clear as day. Cheers to good games and goodbye.